Here we are, April, hard to believe it, April 2025, and it still looks like it's winter out there for some reason. But you know what that means? That means that the March stats are fresh off the press here, right from the Edmonton Real Estate Board, and we're going to be going right through them. Rob Yastrzemski with RJ Homes and
Cole Nasio with RJ Homes.
Cole is one of our new team members, and he'll be joining us on the videos as well as being out there to serve everybody that's looking to purchase a home. So without further ado, let's just dive right into it. What do we have for our average sales numbers for the month of March?
So we have an average sale price of $440,000 for all residential, and that's a 4.3% jump over last month of February. And from last March, we're seeing a 10.9% increase from 2023.
Wow. Double-digit increases in average sales price for just the difference between March of last year versus March of this year. Now you're going to see us looking down on the sheets here, our little cheat sheets. We'll make sure that those are all the stats, everything's in the links below for you guys. But just so that we put some context into this, what were the numbers looking like back in 2024? What was the average sales price then?
In 2024, the average price was $397,000 for all residential, and even that was an 8.3% increase from 2023.
So think about this, like this is crazy numbers. The experts are all predicting, you guys probably saw our video on the forecast for 2025, which was similar to the forecast for 2024. All the experts predicted a modest gain of maybe 1 to 2% for the whole year, and we're seeing over 8% last year between 2023 and 2024, and this year we're seeing over 10%. That's crazy numbers by comparison to what the experts predicted.
Yeah.
So without further ado, let's jump right in. So that was the overall average numbers. What are we looking at when we break it all down into the different segments of the type of home? So we've got, the single family detached, we've got the duplexes or semi-detached, we've got the row homes or townhomes, and then of course we have the apartment style condos. Let's just go through them one by one. Cole, what are we looking at for the detached segment?
For detached, we're looking at $574,000, which is a 3.7% increase this month. Wow. 14.2% from last year.
And so last year, so in 2024, what was the average number back then? The average price?
$502,000.
So if you would have purchased your home last year, on average, let's say you paid $502,000. How much would have you been able to sell it for today?
$72,000 more.
Crazy. Just goes to show you, as we were mentioning before, basically the sooner you purchase in Alberta, especially in the Edmonton market, we're seeing a lot of traction, and it's predicted to continue on. Everybody knows that we're in the middle of these tariffs from Mr. Trump down south here. And of course, you may have already heard the news that Trump tariffs were pretty much the news of the day yesterday, and pretty much went right across the whole world. However, when we look at the Canadian tariffs that have been imposed, Alberta is basically having the least amount of tariff impact. And that's because, of course, we're very heavily dependent on our energy sector, which the United States needs.
Yep.
So that means that we're going to continue to see migration from other parts of Canada, meaning that the sooner you buy, the better off you'll be, because before you know it, all those other provinces that are looking to move to a lower cost of living province like Alberta are going to be here, and these prices are just going to continue to increase. So that's incredible. Can you repeat that number again? I can't believe it. What's the year over year?
14.2%.
Crazy numbers. Okay, so that's the detached single family.
Yeah.
That represents an average home of maybe newer built, double attached garage, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, something along those lines. you can get a nice home for that still in this area. But how are we looking for duplexes?
428,000 and slightly lower, only 3.3% over last year.
Over last year, really? Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So that is a little bit lower, but that's interesting because if you look at that number, 428,000, that still represents a lot of value for a duplex versus a single family home. So essentially, you can buy a duplex if you don't mind sharing your one wall with your neighbor. You can get away with saving yourself about $150,000 versus a single family detached home that's similar in size, similar in age, similar neighborhoods. So that's pretty good value.
Yep.
And how does that compare to last year? What were our prices back then on duplexes?
Last year they were 414,000, very similar, but last year we saw 12.4% increase over 2023.
Yeah, so it makes sense that we had less of an increase this year because they had a huge jump from 23 to 24. So that really does make sense. Okay, so that's duplexes. What about the next level down? What are we looking at for townhome prices?
Row townhouses, we're looking at 312,000, 5.7% more than February and 12.9% more than last March.
So those townhomes are still on fire as far as the amount of gains that we're seeing there. So if you look at that, that's interesting because there is roughly a little more than $100,000 difference between a townhome and a duplex. So again, further savings, right? If you're just starting out, or if you don't mind sharing both the sides of your townhome, whether it's your townhome is maybe it's even an end unit. So you might only have to share the one wall. But if you're in a townhome, you can save well over $100,000 versus being in a duplex, and then you can save another $150,000 versus a single-family detached home. So that's interesting. And those townhomes, because you get so much value, are still increasing in prices. Builders are trying their best to build as quickly as possible, but they are just a very popular part of the segment here. So with that being said, if you're just starting out in the market, you're say just new to the province or to the country, or maybe you're just a younger and you're just starting out in buying your first home. If you're looking at buying into the market, you have to start somewhere. So apartment style condos are a great place to start. And what did we do for last month for apartment style condos? What were the prices then?
So we're talking 215,000 average price, 2.1% increase over February, and another big 13.7% over 2024.
Crazy. And what was it in 2024? What was the difference between 23 and 24?
23 and 24 is 189,000 average price, but only a 0.8% increase.
So there you go. Traditionally, apartment style condos, we don't see a lot of increases here in the Edmonton area. But as you can tell by those prices, that is an incredible value. For just over $200,000, you can get yourself a nice apartment style condo. And that represents a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom condo. There are actually some apartment style condos here in the Edmonton area that are really nice condos that you can still get for around $150,000. It's just incredible value. So it's definitely not too late to get in. As you can tell, we're seeing a lot of traction even in the condo segment. Yeah. Great way to get your feet wet with the real estate market. Now that was Edmonton. What about the whole Greater Edmonton area? When we compare the whole surrounding area that also includes Edmonton versus Edmonton, the sale prices are similar but a little bit different anyway. So what do we got here for the average price in the Greater Edmonton area versus Edmonton itself?
So we're talking a little bit higher here, 460,000, which is a 9.3% increase over last year. A little bit smaller, a little bit higher average price there.
Mm-hmm. And so that was versus Edmonton. Edmonton, what was the average there?
440,000.
440. So about a $20,000 difference in price. But that's because we're taking into consideration the whole Greater Edmonton area, and that includes places like Sherwood Park, St. Albert, all of the smaller communities as well. And when we say residential, we mean all residential, including apartment style condos, luxury properties that are detached, as well as, you know, the duplexes and townhomes. And so it includes everything in the whole Greater Edmonton area. So it's no surprise, because a lot of the places like Sherwood Park and St. Albert do have some higher end homes that are probably higher average price than the Greater Edmonton area, or than the Edmonton area itself. So that being said, how does that compare for, say, when we drop it down to each segment? What are we looking at for the single family detached home?
Single family detached, we're talking a $1,000 difference, $575,000 compared to only $574 in Edmonton.
That's interesting.
Still, we're seeing 11% more than 2024 on the detached though, all around.
Crazy, double digit numbers, double digit increases. That's amazing. And how does that compare to last year in 24 versus 23?
23, 517,000 compared to 502 in Edmonton. 6.7% increase last year from 2023.
So there you go. Last year, people thought we had some crazy, unrealistic, some people were saying, increases in pricing. And we had some people actually, some of our clients were actually saying this. They're like, no, I think we're not ready to buy. We're just going to wait till the prices drop. Instead of dropping, they went up. And that's exactly what we all predicted. Even though the experts predicted modest gains, we kind of figured we were gonna see these crazy increases. So, for moving on, let's go into one of the most favorite value leaders as far as the type of home, the duplexes.
The duplexes, we're talking about $431,000 average price compared to $428,000 in Edmonton. So very, very similar all around. Still a 5.3% year-over-year increase though.
Yep. That's pretty respectable. And how does that compare, that price versus last year? So this year we were at $431 for a duplex on average. What were we back in 24?
Back in 24 we were at $409,000.
There you go. Respectable. You gained yourself already a little over $20,000 in equity.
Yep.
And then what do we have for increases last year on the duplex segment versus 2023?
11.5%.
So there you go. So again, last year we had a higher difference between 2023 and 2024 in the duplex segment, but we are experiencing higher differences in this single family detached segment this year. So that's interesting. Okay, let's move on. How about the townhomes, row homes?
Townhomes, we're talking $315,000. Again, very similar to Edmonton, $312,000 over there. And that's an 11.3% increase again from last year.
Yep. It's the same story whether you're in Edmonton or the Greater Edmonton area. Townhomes are the value leaders because you do get so much for your money. I mean, for $315,000, you can get similar square footage, so a similar size in a similar neighborhood, also with double attached garages, a lot of these.
Yep.
For what we're talking, $250,000 less than a detached home.
Wow.
No wonder it's going up by double-digit increases.
Talk about value. We're seeing 11.3% this year and 13.9% from 2023.
These row homes are gaining traction. So if you are in the market and you're a young family or you're looking just to get into a home, a row home is a great place to start.
Absolutely.
Now, if you are just starting out in the market, again, you probably need to, look at maybe an apartment style condo. Maybe you don't have a family, or maybe your kids already moved out. What are the apartment style condos doing in the Greater Edmonton area versus Edmonton itself?
So 218,000 in the Greater Edmonton area, so about 3,000 more than in just the city, but that's still a 12.2% increase over 2024.
Wow!
Just
double digits apartment style condos right here in the Greater Edmonton area. That includes, again, Sherwood Park, St. Albert, Fort Saskatchewan, everywhere. Like, we are seeing a lot of traction with our apartment style condos right now.
Absolutely.
Pretty amazing, pretty amazing. And so that's the selling price. Now let's get into the actual statistics on the listings. The number of listings. What are we looking at for March listings? How did that compare versus 2024?
So we're seeing 2,727 new listings this month compared to 2,548
back in
back in
2024.
2024. So 9.7% increase.
More listings. So that's interesting. We are currently experiencing a very low inventory situation, but it's slightly higher than last year.
Yeah.
And how about, what are we looking at for the total amount of listings this year that we've had versus the total amount of listings that we had in 2024?
So we're talking 6,319 new listings this year in 2025 compared to just under 6,000, 5,988 in 2024.
So a little over 300 more listings this year than last year. What's interesting though is if you look at the year over year increases in the number of listings, how does that compare?
So it's actually
25 versus 24, and then 24 versus 23.
So yeah, 9.7% more listings this year, and 12.3% more listings in 2024 than 2023.
So there you go. Again, it's just incredible that even though we've had more listings this year, and last year we had more listings than the year before, we're still seeing very, very low inventory levels. So much so that, what is it for months of inventory right now?
We only have 2 months of stock.
Okay, so just so that the viewers understand what that means, if we stopped having any new listings come on whatsoever, we would basically sell out of everything within 2 months.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's very, very low. And that's for all of Edmonton. Now, if we look at the Greater Edmonton Area, what's the number of months of inventory for the whole Greater Edmonton Area?
You know, we're actually getting smaller. 1.9 months.
Crazy. So just goes to show you that when you break it down into all the different smaller areas around Edmonton, it's even worse. Just for the sake of discussion, we don't have this as statistics from the Edmonton Real Estate Board, but today you and I did a little bit of an exercise here of just one segment of the market. Here we're looking at the residential in Sherwood Park, and again, this is all residential, meaning vacant lots, duplexes, apartment style condos, or sorry, no condos. We just did everything residential that's non-condo, so lots, duplexes, townhomes, and detached homes, and all sorts of detached homes, incidentally, whether it's a starter home with no garage or a detached garage, as well as the ones that have attached garages. And do you remember what the numbers were?
We had 67 listings on the market this morning.
67 active listings. Now, we got to get a little bit more granular just to really show you the true actual numbers, because if you take out all of the brand new construction listings, some of those brand new construction listings are actually just listings of homes that aren't really available to purchase yet. You can purchase them, but you won't be able to move into them in some cases for 6 or 9 months. So if we take out the brand new construction ones, do you remember what the number was?
I believe it was 23.
23 for all of Sherwood Park. What's the rough population of Sherwood Park?
I think it's about 90,000 now.
Well, that's all of the Strathcona County, but Sherwood Park is around 70,000.
70,000.
And Strathcona County has actually increased now. It's 100,000.
Oh,
just broke 100,000. But just goes to show you how ridiculous is that. Normally, on a balanced market, we should be around 6 months of inventory. That's a balanced market. Now, just for numbers' sake, just because I kind of like to do this all the time, is to check in on what the numbers are. In Sherwood Park alone, in March, we should be closer to 200 listings versus 10% of that at 27. Like, that is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So this goes to show you we are experiencing a very, very low inventory situation, and we're predicting that it'll probably stay pretty low. It might go up a little bit more as the year progresses, but we've got a lot of buyers that are itching to get out there and buy something. So as soon as something decent comes up for sale, it's usually sold.
It's
right,
pretty quick.
Like how lately all of our listings, how long does it take to sell them?
The weekend.
The weekend. We list it on a Friday and it's gone by Sunday.
By Sunday afternoon. Yeah.
So this goes to show you. So our viewers, the message is always the same. Just the time to buy is now, as soon as possible, because prices are increasing, inventory levels are staying low. Here in the Greater Edmonton area, you can still buy a really nice home for a very modest price, even by comparison to Calgary. Our friends down in Calgary, for the same homes that we have here, are paying roughly $200,000 to $250,000 more. So we're even seeing people from Calgary move up to Edmonton area just because the cost of living is so much lower here, for housing especially.
100%.
So let's move on. Let's move on to something a little bit more interesting. I'm sure that people would want to know, what are our sales numbers? The number of sales that we had in March 2025 in Edmonton versus 2024.
So in just the city of Edmonton, we've had 1,757 sales in March. And that's a slight increase of 1,737 compared to last year.
There you go. So that's interesting. So, but if you look at the year over year, it's what, 1.7?
1.7% more.
But what was it last year?
Last year, it was a 38.8% increase in sales
versus 2023.
2023.
So the reason why the number is so low this year, it's not because we don't have the buyers, it's because the inventory is so low, especially in certain areas. So remember, we're giving you averages. Some areas are experiencing extremely low inventory levels, where others are maybe brand new construction is affecting the numbers, and there's a lot of brand new construction listings that are hitting the market. But like we mentioned before, they're not exactly ready to be moved into, so it could sway those numbers a little bit. So okay, let's move on. Let's do something a little bit more interesting for maybe some of the viewers that are considering selling their homes. So the number of average days on market for each of the different segments. Let's start with the detached homes. How long does it take to sell on average a detached home in March of 2025 versus 2024?
So we're seeing an average of 30 days on the market compared to 39 days last year. So they are just going quick.
That's average. And that includes all of the residential markets. So what about the duplexes?
Duplexes are going even faster, 24 days compared to 32 days last year.
Amazing. And so by comparison, when you look at some of the different areas around around Canada, they're experiencing the exact opposite. They're seeing their days on market go up because their prices are so high by comparison. So that's interesting. And what about the row homes, townhomes?
Row homes just as quick, 24 days, down from down from 34 days last year.
There you go. So it's just not taking very much time. Now, on average, just so that our viewers can relate here, on average, when we have a balanced market, what we were experiencing before was somewhere around 60 to 70 days for each one of those segments, and that's still pretty fast. But we're at less than half that. We're at almost a third. What about the apartment style condos?
So we're taking a little bit longer for those, 42 days, down from 46 days last year. So we're still seeing an increase there.
Yeah, and you know what? Again, when we compare that to the average on a balanced market, typically apartment style condos, we're up around 100 or even more days. So that's really fast by comparison. And that's again all different types of condos. You know, so if you break it down to more granular, if we're looking at condos that are maybe not as desirable or older, they're all in there. But the newer ones that are in desirable areas, even though they're higher priced, they still sell very, very fast.
Yeah, they do.
Very fast. And then, so let's do something fun. Let's do something fun. How about we look at the high rollers? How about we break it down by each segment, which basically consists of detached, duplex, townhouse, and apartment style condo. What's the highest price sale that was recorded in March for 2025 versus 24?
In the Greater Edmonton Area, we saw a sale for $2.267 million in 2024 in March. For 2025, sorry.
Oh, okay, and that's a detached home.
Detached.
And that includes, just so that our viewers know, that includes all of residential, including acreage style,
Yes.
country residential, not just inside the city.
Yes.
That's incredible. So we don't normally see these numbers. People are saying, oh, you know, the Edmonton area, there's hardly any homes out there that are over $1 million. There are a lot of high-end homes. It's just we don't typically see those sell. People usually hang on to those for a little longer. And now we're seeing even the higher end of $2 million plus, $3 million plus last month for selling. So what about duplexes? So this is an incredible. We were off camera. We were just commenting how Cole was saying he would never pay this kind of money for a duplex. What's the numbers look like for a duplex?
$862,000 for a duplex in the Greater Edmonton Area in March.
And what would you do?
I wouldn't pay that much.
When you can buy an average detached home for a little over 500, right?
Yeah.
So, but there are some luxury duplex product out there
For sure.
in the Greater Edmonton Area. As a matter of fact, even in the Sherwood Park area, I know we have some.
Yes.
Well, they're not age restricted, but they're kind of meant to be adult style type of duplexes, and they're going brand new construction are around 900,000.
Yep.
So really nice product though. How about townhouses? What was our highest price sale recorded for townhomes?
Townhouses, $645,000 this month.
And by comparison to what's the average price for a townhouse? Double.
$323,000.
Double. So that's a pretty nice townhome.
Yep.
Now, if we really want to get skewed, what's the highest priced apartment style condo in Edmonton? Not New York, not Tokyo, not London, in Edmonton.
$1.425 million.
Wow, that's an apartment style condo. Likely, I'm guessing downtown. Probably the Ice District, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe one of those 400 square footers. No, I'm kidding. No, at that price point, you would expect to get a much larger apartment style condo. But 1.4 million.
That's crazy.
That's amazing. By comparison to what's the average price for an apartment style condo?
$218,000. 1.2 million extra.
This is not an average apartment style condo that you're buying. A lot of those condos, they actually come with multiple parking stalls. Some of them are even in penthouse suites. Now, believe it or not, the 1.4 million is far from the most desirable, most expensive penthouse suite that we have here, but that was the highest recorded sale. So that's interesting. So there we go. That's the stats. That's March. Can't wait to see what happens in April. We're already crazy busy, and it's only, the third day of April.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting. Things are really ramping up. We're seeing new listings pop up, but they're selling very quickly.
Yes.
It'll be interesting to see what the stats have to offer then. So in the meantime, please go ahead and hit like and subscribe. Make sure that you guys do that, and then we'll continue on bringing you these statistics and this information. We'll also have some other links for you down below to make sure that you can see some of the other previous videos, especially by comparison to last month. We'll have March videos in the description below there for you. As well, we'll make sure that we have all of these in there for you as well. Anyways, that's it. That's April. That's March. And we're off and running because we're off to another listing.
For sure.